Welcome back to Intimacy, Choreography, and Conversation. I'm David Gonzalez, one of the producers here. If you caught part one of our conversation with Greg Geffard, you know how powerful his story is, from activism to advocacy to shaping the field of intimacy work. In this second part, Greg dives even deeper into the challenges and evolution of the intimacy field, the importance of language and training, and how community and sustainability can guide us forward. Before we jump in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on your favorite podcast apps so that you never miss an episode. Now, let's get back into the conversation.
Greg, would love to hear how you would describe the intimacy field at large right now, how it's changed or how your perception of it has changed since you first began this work officially or unofficially, and where do you see this field going and where do you hope it goes? And I know that's 1 million questions. Whatever you like.
It's just a little past, present, future. No, it's
Exactly.
good.
Perfect tarot spread.
Yes. I think the past, I find that what was probably the most challenging is the safety framework. And I know that may sound odd to speak about safety as an intimacy person, but it is a thing where that which I've really loved is a language that was offered by Dr. Amanda Rose Villarreal and Laura Reichard around the spaces of acceptable risk, SOAR, because ultimately, being that I've said earlier, like historically, I am not the face of safety. And so, like, that was the thing that gave me the most trepidation because if this was framed around the idea of safety, then if I feel that I am not going to be able to provide a room that simply by me being in the space, then kind of makes it beyond challenging to do my job. And so I really love this like reframing or shifting away from the idea of safety. Not to say that safety shouldn't be prioritized, but ultimately, if we're thinking about what we're promising in the spaces, an ability to assess what the risks are that we are taking in telling the story, and if we are willing to take that risk.
Mm.
I think in the past, what made that really challenging was the fact that we allowed urgency to be the thing that kind of drove everything that we did. And talked about this earlier, like the yes and, it's like the show must go on. It is always this like pushing towards product and then leaving behind the people in the process. Like they become secondary to this thing. The irony that like the people in the process become devalued, deprioritized over the people that we're calling to into the room. I'm just like, how about we just focus on people? Like, just maybe. And so, like in the past, like I feel like that made conversations really challenging, and the hard stances over intellectual property.
Mm.
And unfortunately allowing that to gatekeep, allowing like it's a thing where I think it's because this happened during the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. It almost felt like, oh, you have the vaccine, but you're going to charge us all for the vaccine. If you know that you have the cure to the thing, why would you not want everybody to have access to the cure for the thing? Now, I understand for those who want to then continue going into rooms and such and like leading spaces, it is one thing to be like, okay, cool, let's give credit where credit is due. Like I trust me, I 1,000% understand historically how much things have been taken from I'm just gonna say have been taken from Black communities, from Black people, and not being credited for it. So it's not me advocating for like everybody for this to be this like open field, but it is a matter of that shouldn't be the thing that prevents you from getting this work to the people who need it. And I feel that, and I'm grateful to say, like, I feel like that is shifting. Like, we are shifting away from the business, like the strictly business model of it all, because ultimately, this is a service position, just like educate, like as an educator, like I'm in a service position. Yes, I deserve respect in the room. My expertise should be compensated, but I'm ultimately here to make sure that the people in the room have the things. Where we are presently, is we're having some very real conversations, I feel, around what this means for us. We are about to engage in a very tough conversation around definitions. To me, that is the beginning of cultivating anything. It is figuring out what are the definitions. Every workshop that I've ever taught, it's like primarily what I do is just to make sure that we are utilizing the same language and that we understand what we mean when we use this language because language is ever evolving. We are in a place where we're going to have to figure out what our new definitions are because D, E, and I, those words now will ensure that you don't get access to funds, that you don't get grants, that you are not invited into spaces because you are too woke, because you are essentially trying to shift the culture and make a culture more inclusive. I think the thing that we have done, I think that is a disservice to us as a society, is we have created, we've abbreviated and created these like, is it acronyms? Like we've everything's become an acronym. Like I want to walk up to somebody who, believes that DEI shouldn't be a thing. And I'm just like, don't say DEI. I want you to say to me, I do not think diversity and equity and inclusivity is integral to us being in continued community with each other. Like, I want you to say that to my
Mm,
face. Don't hide behind the letters. Say what you mean what you say. And so, to me, we are in a place right now where we're going to have to create a new word
mm,
because I think the moment we say intimacy, everyone's just like, oh, this is that, that consent, that like, because those words are being weaponized against us, those of us who are doing that work of making sure that people survive entertaining you.
mm.
The irony that you don't care about the people who are literally entertaining you. And if you don't believe me, think about what you were doing in 2020 when you were sheltered in place. You were watching them shows, you were reading them books. And so it is a thing where the great contributors to our society are essentially being silenced, being muted. To me, it is how do we create the next iteration, the evolution of this language that we use, not because we don't think that the language is no longer useful, but it is now a barrier to entry into certain spaces. Um, and our ability to influence and cultivate is being limited. As far as where I think this is going to go, this ain't our first, this won't be our last. I think though the part that's hard for me to reconcile, and then maybe it's because I'm just a little bit older, the part that's hard for me, the two parts that are hard for me to reconcile, every revolution, every cultural shift has been led by young people. You
Mm,
look at Black Panther Party, you look at the Montgomery bus boycott. The organizers tend to be the young people. They have the energy, they have the stamina, and then the elders are the ones that's like, let me tell you, like we tried that, that didn't so much. And it's like, so you may want to think about this. I think the reason why something like a Black Lives Matter worked so well is because it didn't have a centralized face on it. Granted, yes, we give credit to the two Black women and the gender nonconforming individual that created this, but it was a thing where this was a movement online. This was decentralized, and because it was decentralized, it also had the ability to be globalized. You can't kill an idea. Black Lives Matter is an idea. It is an offering to do and change and shift perspective. It isn't a person. Because unfortunately, historically, those people who had ideas, who had dreams, assassinated or sought after or silenced or erased or disappeared. And so to me, that with that understanding, the part that's hard right now is where are the young people gathering to galvanize? Where, like, what does that like look like? because we feel so digitally divided, I don't know how we create momentum right now because there is strength in numbers and populace and the people, but I don't know how we are gathering right now is one. And then two, in all things evolution, there are people who don't make we think of like AIDS epidemic, we think of all of these things of like people who are lost to histories completely and utterly like erased. And that is to me the hardest right now because I'm like, I can't so casually just be like, oh, like we're gonna lose some people along the way. But it's because I'm like, I think it's because I've peopled for almost 40 years now, and how do I make sure and not allow my survivor's remorse to prevent me from being active? Because ultimately, it is what this work needs and where this needs to move, where intimacy folks in particular need to move towards is you need to realize that this is advocacy work. And by that, I simply mean you have the ability and your positionality is about making space. But you have to understand that the final and probably hardest step of advocacy is decentralization.
Mm.
It is a matter of I have made this space for X person who was on the fringes of the spaces, who was on the borderlines of things. We have put them at the center of the room. And now I need to be quiet and step back and allow these individuals to speak for themselves and let us know what it is that they need as opposed to just speaking for them. Because I'm not saying like I am done, like I have done all the things I can in intimacy, but I find that as an educator, I am reminded constantly that I am a better educator if I am willing to learn from my students, humble myself to listen. And so, and I know it's going to be hard, but I think that that which is really needed is to take a step back and ask yourself, how do you decentralize yourself from the conversation and still stay in the room? Because if you are only in the room to be centralized, to be seen, to be heard, then you have let it be known what was your purpose in being in said. And so I think that's where we have to move. And final thing I'll say about it is there's a woman that I listen to, love her podcast, and I really hope I'm saying her name correctly, Telusma, Telusma. And she talks about this very interesting concept because I told like somatic works and everything of that nature. But I found myself, I talk about disassociation like as a means of survival and how detrimental that is to the artist telling a story up there, especially if you're doing not only that which is vulnerable to you, but has the potential to harm other people on stage. Like it terrifies me when I hear my students just finish doing a sword fight or something and they're just like, oh my God, I don't remember a single thing that happened during, and you're like, ah, And the same thing happens if you're doing a scene of intimacy with somebody. It's just like, I need you to be present.
Mm.
And what Blue talks about is this idea, instead of saying disassociation, she talks about time traveling. And she's very specifically, and how I've internalized this is like anxiety time travels you to the future
Hmm.
of like trying to prevent the things, and then trauma time travels you to the past, the things that happened that you're trying not to repeat. And so ultimately, what is happening is like you're dealing with folks who are not present. Right now, we need to figure out a way to stay present. And it becomes harder for us to stay in that way, to stay present if we have ascended to a point in which the things do not directly affect us anymore. I have reached the status. I like this thing doesn't, this thing doesn't affect me. I've reached an affluent, I've reached it. I am this place in the hierarchy of things. But how do we stay present? Because like all of us are going to be needed to get to the other side of this. It is the language, It is the tools, it is the decentralization, but ultimately we have to stay in this room together. And how do we do that? I am very interested in what that looks like and have faith that we can, but I'm a little nervous that there are those who won't continue advocating because they are separated from the ground level of it all. I mean, it's the same. It's the politician problem. It's the sophomore album from a rap artist. It's the thing where you're like, the people are the ones who got you there, but unfortunately, you then, once you reach that certain position, or like, with the rap album, it's like, you were talking about community in a very specific way. But then what happens when you're like, how am I supposed to be talking about a community I no longer live in? I'm not there with the people. I can't be like, I'm struggling to, it's just like, I got a multi-million-dollar deal. I got a Grammy. Like, I'm not there. How do you stay connected? How do we stay present? And how do we stay in the room?
Woo! I mean, what you bring up, the conundrum of where we are and how we look at our past, which for some of us does include trauma. We look at our present and where we are and how we're living in it, and how we look without being anxious toward a future that tells us that DEI is being erased, that our jobs sometimes as intimacy facilitators are being overlooked or erased or not necessary or downgraded. How do we stay away from, after accumulating a certain amount of experience, keep away from walking into rooms where people think of us as gurus or think of us as these rock star advocates or whatever that is that people put in their heads, and stay grounded in the work and stay present in the work? I think you've brought up some really interesting things for us to think about and for us to contemplate as a community. You are certainly on the cutting edge of not only education, but also professional work in this field. And I just respect you so much. And
Mm,
I'm so grateful that you've had the time to come and speak with us about where your mind is and what you're thinking about. I know that TIE is planning a symposium coming up, and I'm planning on being there.
Yay.
Yeah, I can't wait to join you all and listen and learn and be a part of this new wave of what intimacy is and how we can broaden the scope of what we do, and also include as many people as possible in these conversations so we aren't a gate-kept community. So we are really interested to know, Greg, what exciting things you've got coming up in the near future, spring, summer 2025. What's your schedule look like?
Oh, I'm currently in the greater Atlanta area, and I will be going back to Chicago, my love, where I lived for 11 years. I'll be working on The Color Purple, directed by Lillian Brown, one of my favorite collaborators to work with. And so I will be doing intimacy, and I'll also be doing violence for that show. This is actually my third time working on The Color Purple. The other two times I worked with
Whoa.
Timothy Douglas on, which was like just a phenomenal human. Final thing I'll say about it, the thing I'm actually the most excited about is I actually have a student, her name is Bella Scarlett, who I'm going to be bringing with me. So she's
Mm.
a student of mine who's graduating this May, and she's going to come in and assist me because she's planning on moving to Chicago. And there's just something really beautiful because we are talking about mentorship and stuff earlier, but there's something really lovely and something that I've continued to try to do. I've worked with several folks who are interested in doing this work, and just like bringing them into the room, introducing the people. And I think something that is beyond valuable is making sure that not only are they getting compensated for their work, but making sure that they are connected to the theater, that they get a separate contract, that they are recognized for their work, because that just means in the future, when Bella wants to work with that theater or that theater wants to work with her, they don't have to contact me in order to get to Bella. She already has that established relationship with them. And I'm just super excited. She's so, so talented, and also just like one of the most humble, lovely humans ever. So yeah, super excited to see where this goes. And I mean, to be in a room with that much talent and be invited with Lillian and working with Breon again and such. It's a delight beyond words. So I cannot wait. That is going to be that goes up in end of June and runs until the end of July until like August in Chicago at the Goodman Theater.
Wow, that's
Incredible.
fantastic. You tell Lillian I said hello.
I will.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Fantastic, fantastic person, great director. Um, okay, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm just so grateful that you came here to talk with us and be in conversation with us about intimacy. Thank you so much, Greg. You're a dear friend, a dear colleague, and many more wonderful experiences I'm sure are ahead of you. I'm glad to know that you're taking care of yourself.
Oh, thank you. It is truly, I was very humbled when I got the message. You like be on the podcast. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I also just know the heights that you have reached. And it's wild. I really hope I don't get you in trouble by saying this, but it is a thing where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I will message you, and within hours, you're just like, and hits you back. You're like, cool. And so, like, know that, like, I'm truly great. I know that not everybody gets that treatment, and I don't think it's a preferential of it all, but it is a matter of like the fact that you continuously make the effort to stay connected with and also offer opportunities. Like, you're just like, oh, cool. I can't do this thing. Like, can you, like, that spirit of abundant community is really felt, and I'm truly, truly grateful. And I'm saying this because I love you. I mean, if you need somebody on B-Way with you, come out this holler at your boy, man. I'm I'm a hop and a skip away. So
You know I
um
will. You know I
I'll,
will.
but thank you. But thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greg. I have so much to think on and chew on, and I just feel so inspired and curious about where, as a community of professionals, we can be aiming to move toward. So, thank you so much for your time and your brilliance today. Really grateful to be in community and in conversation with you both. And thank you so much to all our listeners for tuning in again. And we will see you next time. We'll see you soon with another amazing guest.
See you
Take
next
care.
time. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.